how do you define yourself as a leader?
Um, it's a funny question because I've never thought of myself as a leader. Um, I like to, I know that we are all responsible for, the jobs we take on, and we're responsible for delivering on promises. But uh, I've always just been a part of a team, and to me, the team, you're only as good, whoever you are, as your team.
Mhm.
And I've been lucky enough that I've worked with some just remarkable people who've helped to achieve great things. And so I don't know how to define it beyond that.
Nope, that's perfect. Now, in terms of your journey as a leader, do you find that it was defined? Did you have a plan? What did it look like?
Uh, the evidence is very clear that I did not have a plan, because I never would have in a million years thought I'd find myself in this role. So that would be for me to suggest there was any sort of a plan. What there was a desire to work um, on projects in companies, uh, in areas where you could do good while you were creating opportunity that was economic and social, not just economic. I didn't want to just make money. I spent the first 10 years of my life as a stockbroker, and I've never made as much money as an income on an income basis as I did then, from 79 to 89. Um, but it wasn't fulfilling. And so for me, it's just been more a focus on, can I do work that makes a difference and has economic benefit, not just for me, but for others.
Now, do you feel there's one leadership attribute, a characteristic that has been the strongest for yourself as a leader?
Um, Tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
I just, like, you know, it, when I get a bug in my ear, I just don't give up. If something needs to be done, you just have to keep pushing until it gets done.
Mm-hmm.
And if something is possible, you just have to keep pushing until you actually make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the one thing that I think is consistent throughout, is that when I get onto a project, I want to make sure that we succeed.
Mm-hmm. Now, what motivates you the most from a leadership perspective?
Making a meaningful difference,
Mm-hmm.
something that is not a one-off, but something that starts a cycle of change. Um, I'm not big on single moments in time that don't lead to other bigger opportunities, um, which is a problem from the standpoint that I don't stop enough. And you could ask my colleagues in the current role, I don't stop enough to say, "Wow, that was incredible. That was
Mm-hmm.
great," because my eyes quickly shift to what the next thing is that we need to do to keep it moving, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you go back 10 years in your career, is there a certain attribute you feel that you had to evolve from a leadership perspective?
Improve, you mean? Is that
Yes,
what you're getting at?
yes, improve.
You said that this was supposed to be a 25-minute interview.
Yes, one of them. How's that?
um, I think the one thing that I didn't do well um, is and I think it probably is still, I'm still working on it, but it's to make sure that I match, um, that I pull together the partners that actually can achieve something, that have the desire and the capabilities and the same belief as me. Um, I used to think that you could just sort of encourage people along and that would be enough. And that actually isn't enough. You really have to evaluate each partner and say, are they capable of achieving this? And then if it isn't working, um, you got to say, okay, is this the individual or the partner, or is this just how we're working together? But you've got to really. Sometimes it takes a long time to get an engine fully functioning, and often in the past, I think I let things go a lot longer than I should
Mhm.
before reevaluating, and because it's not fair to anybody if things aren't working optimally, and it's so rewarding for everyone if it is.
Mhm.
So that would be the one thing that I still think I need to work on, because often, and you can ask those that I work with, I get so enthusiastic about something, and sometimes it is a tad harebrained. It's
Mhm.
not, not everything I get excited about is going to work out,
Mhm.
and I don't view that as a negative. That's just a reality. If you're trying to evoke change around you, not everything's going to work out.
Mhm.
But you've got to make sure that when you're trying, that you've got the pieces in place to be successful.
Mhm. And this leads naturally to my next question around teams. So I've seen every leader has their own unique strategy around how to engage and motivate teams. So I was curious around what your strategy has been, and do you find that it's changing considering the pandemic time we're in, or you feel it's really been the same?
Um, I've really had to look hard at team,
Mhm.
um, in this new job, because the responsibility is so extensive, and um, the resources we get are not very
Mhm.
extensive for the amount of work. I've never had a more difficult job in my life in terms of the volume of work. So I have really, who's on the team matters a lot now,
Mhm.
and your connection and your shared values matters even more because we're disconnected.
Mhm.
So if you can't have some form of true connection uh, digitally, it's going to make it harder to do hard work.
Mhm.
Um, and so that level of personal engagement is and shared values, shared belief, shared commitment is more important than ever
Mhm.
in today's environment.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
it's also true for this job.
Mhm.
This is a very demanding job.
Yeah. Now, in terms of that, what would you say has been one of your most proudest moments um, being a leader in this job?
Um, Singularly, the moment that I wouldn't say it was necessarily why the thing that's made me happiest
Mhm.
was the Minister of Finance restarting the open banking consultations,
Mhm.
um, because I did feel that we contributed to that happening.
Mhm.
And we did so by being very positive, by being very encouraging. We did so by demonstrating values that I think are important to each of us on the team,
Mhm.
and by continuing to focus on what Canada was missing out on if we didn't move forward. But we didn't do it by criticizing and being negative. We certainly focused pressure,
Mhm.
but it was, I think, positive pressure. We've got to convince the Minister of Finance to act. This new Minister of Finance did act, and I believe we helped to cause that to happen, helped to cause that to become a priority because she has so much on her plate. She
Mhm.
has just taken on the most challenging role that you could ever take on,
Mhm.
and she did so within 2 months. She prioritized open banking consultations restarting.
Mhm.
That was a moment of real. That wasn't pride because that's her taking the risk. It's her doing it. She should be the one who's proud of what she's done. But I think we feel in our team that we helped bring that about, and
Mhm.
that was really that made me pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it made a lot of people very happy. Okay. Now, if you were to give advice to the next generation of leaders, what's the one thing that you would say to them?
Work on what you believe in
Mhm.
because you're going to be doing a lot of it.
Yeah.
So work on what you believe in. And if you aren't, make the change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't recommend changing jobs and then going and looking,
Mm-hmm.
because that can bring a precariousness financially that is not necessarily a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do recommend making a change.
Yeah.
I think it's best for everybody. If you're in a job where you're not achieving to your potential, you're not going to get the reference that you need to
Mm-hmm.
get that next opportunity. If you're not in a job where you're achieving your potential, you're not going to get the personal rewards you need.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get the promotions that you deserve and the new opportunities that you're capable of fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's absolutely crucial. Make sure you're working on what you believe in, because any one of us, I look back in my life and I think of all the number of moments in time where things could have gone sideways and I might not have been here.
Mm-hmm.
And so life can be very short, and the pandemic has proven that in many ways. So make sure you're doing what you believe in.
Now, as a leader, if I were to ask, what's the one thing that you feel very passionately about, apart from open banking, in terms of some of the change that leaders need to bring to the industry? What would that be?
To the industry.
Yep, it could be to Canada, it could be to
Okay.
financial.
So what change that leaders need to bring about?
Yeah.
Um, support equal opportunity to participate in markets.
Okay.
That equal opportunity has not existed.
Mm-hmm.
There have been gender and race and other divides that have not provided everybody with an equal opportunity to perform to their potential within markets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a real believer that markets, when properly regulated, and that doesn't mean overly regulated, it just means fairly regulated, um, can um, provide the greatest opportunity for communities to fulfill their potential,
Mm-hmm.
because it means that you're constantly reintroducing new ideas that might be a little better than the last one. And the ones that are really have got really great legs and are sustaining the value they deliver to customers will continue to thrive as new entrants keep coming in, and those who are underperforming, they slowly disappear, and people then have to recalibrate their careers and say, okay, what's next? But I'm not a big believer in society maintaining zombies,
Mm-hmm.
businesses that are um, on their last breath. Uh, those businesses need to repackage and refocus and find a new way to start to thrive. We and so that's going to be even tougher during this period of COVID. What challenges were caused because somebody had a failing business model? What challenges were caused purely because of the pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's tough to sort that out. Um, but I think if we really focus on supporting market-based solutions wherever possible on the other side of this pandemic, where there's more and more investment capital and credit available
Mm-hmm.
based on metrics that evaluate your performance, not the traditional metrics that have tended, through connections, your income level, your wealth, but metrics that evaluate what you can do. And I look at fintechs as being a big contributor to identifying those individuals. Um, that's probably the most important thing that I'd like to be focusing on,
Mm-hmm.
because that means that we can give people the chance to pivot to what's next,
Mm-hmm.
to build our economy on the other side of this,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
rebuild.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel is the role of leaders, or should be the role, when it comes to driving diversity inclusion, challenges that we are seeing today?
Uh, Focus on being the highest performing organization possible, and you can't do that without being an organization that embraces diversity.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't, I shouldn't say it as an old white guy. I shouldn't say it isn't really about equity.
Mm-hmm.
It is about equity, obviously, But what it really is about is achievement. And you cannot possibly achieve to your potential as an organization if you do not embrace diversity. You will be missing something. I don't know what. You don't know what. But you'll be missing it. That's a fact. And so I think boards of directors and CEOs and executive teams need to look at themselves and say, are we reflective of where our society and economy is going, not just where it is, but where it's going? And are we prepared for understanding the challenges of our customers at a very deep level or not? And I think in too many cases, you're seeing, and I think that's where some of these initiatives like Black North have come from, where you're seeing that, no, they're not reflective. And as a result, that organization is not achieving to its potential. This is not about giving individuals an opportunity. It's about giving organizations an opportunity, as far as I'm concerned, to achieve at a higher level.
Yep. And that's a very great way of looking at it. Now, from a leadership perspective, you hear a lot around the balance of the mind and your health. What do you do from a personal perspective to keep that balance?
Not enough. I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Any book you would challenge me to read that you feel will push me to think differently as a leader?
There's a number of books. I'll tell you the book that I've loved most lately, because it just warms your heart. And I haven't read enough books lately. And it's a novel where the crawdads sing. And it's about a person who it's a very unlikely story, but it's a person who was thrown out of society as having no value, and she brought herself up, and she valued something that in the end was intensely valuable, but it took a long time for others to realize that. And it's a beautiful story as well, just a gorgeous story.
Okay, no, I will definitely read it. If I could put you on the Time magazine and put a quote or put something that would describe something that you would love to achieve, what would that be?
Just all I hope to do is to help on important issues. Because it's what I've realized in this new job is how hard it is to enable government to do the right thing that is going to deliver differentiated value. The status quo, the existing systems are unbelievably powerful. They just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And to disrupt those with something that delivers differentiated value is really hard. And so, helping to have done that at some point, but I'm not expecting it anytime soon. The things I work on, nobody really, they're not broad-based issues that anybody really identifies with. 99% of people that I talk to about the issue of open banking, for example, doesn't resonate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the cover could say, right? Is driving that and how that benefits consumers.
Well, it's going to benefit them hugely in the long run, and I know that, and I don't, honestly, I'm not worried, because I just know the evidence is too strong.
Yeah. And then my last question: if I were to ask a quote that you would like to be known as from a leadership perspective, that could be your legacy, what would you say that could be?
These are questions Sarah, I got to tell you, none of these questions are ones that I would think about on a normal basis. I have no idea. I don't. He helped.
Yeah.
All I really ever try and do is try and help make things a little bit better.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's awesome. So